everyone. I would like to do another movie review. This time it's on a Disney movie in representation of villains. Why not? And it came in lines of like the next film that I would kind of review anyways, holding an interest on the way I am kind of seeing exposure of advertisements with films placed out in terms with Easter eggs. The movie I want to talk about at this point would be Cruella. Cruella being the prequel for 101 Dalmatians, and I have watched 101 Dalmatians, but I've never seen the generated Disney interpretation of a prequel. So let's start by talking at first what my expectations were. So currently, I'm not won over by the character's introduction, but I am interested where the depiction of the existing for Cruella from the Disney from where he goes on. It seems from when I was watching it, it seems she has a bit of a rough type personality, despite being from a quite a wealthy family. Still around her teenage years, was a caring mother despite her behavioral flaws. They try to instill a bit of trauma related to her past to the current behavioral habits regarding her villainous self displayed in the cartoons, as it seems Dalmatians were the cause of the tragedy of her mother that she understood having passed. This is secondary stem from the fact that the Baroness boss was holding and blowing the dog whistle, to which she linked was being the reason for the Dalmatians' aggression for the first few scenes at the start. Causation of effect is usually established, particularly in the mental process of someone that has immaturity of thought, as there was no way she could tell that the Dalmatian trained would turn aggressive against her mother, and I believe this thought process stemmed from her mental immaturity, leading on to the depiction of where she uses dogs as a fur coat to be for fashion attire. She does not see these animals as family friends, she sees them as resources. I actually make the appreciation how they are linking the prequel to the establishment for Cruella de Vil, that we are being part of what that is being part in the movie cartoon series. Basically, the linking between this prequel and the canon association, figuring out her depiction of character when she becomes the actual villainess, in comparison to this point where she's playing a villainous character but seen as a protagonist role. So it has a bit of a contrast. Current development of her character may appeal to some viewers in relation to the fact that she went from riches to poverty and lower social economic working jobs from her dream to be in a fashion guru. Her mentor seems to be a good portion of possibly her character development, as she takes more submissive stance relating to her mentor seems to her circumstances as she tries to be the next. Let's go with the quote of another fashion guru that was placed into a recent movie that I reviewed. She was trying to be the next Priestley for Miranda Priestley from the Devil Wears Prada. A sudden change of her character seems to be since the event of the party, as if to try to exemplify from her role models in the stance of her fashion designs. The worst attack was the implication of taking sides for the choice of her hair color. Sorry, this is an Easter egg joke. This doesn't necessarily be the case. It blinds her towards my prospect of being able to live a full life of color. Keep this in its clearly. This is clearly done to put fuel to the fire, in the sense that this movie being placed into my to check out list was done in lines of the other side of things that have already settled down. But you got to take out the fire, and I can say for a fact I'm just laughing at this at this point. She assumes different characters from the point the party to the point where she works with her mentor. An assortment of different creativity in her sense of fashion, and she develops her alter egos in the film, as if a taunt to main clothing design for the popular clothing brand that she has been made compared to. I can establish a mixture of feeling here, where the protagonist was feeling a disparity of looking up to her mentor, yet at the same time she sources her trauma from what has been explored, as she was the fashion that drove the implication leading to the fate of her mother at the time. This is a good point to explore in the film. So I see the actual bad guys in the film of Cruella, where she plays, the one that you're empathizing towards, the main character. Dogs may be seen as bad guys. She's definitely a good stance of her dominance in her character, despite being under her mentor authority. Clearly, the Cruella is developing, though it would seem that she will overtake her mentor based on the original series. It's weird feeling that she portrays as the main character in the film changes the nature for people trying to stay off villains from the bad experience going on. I will say also, she's also developing her sense of alter ego as she's starting to develop ways of separating away from her mentor's point of view. Her mentor gives insight in lines of her stance for seeking dominance and power to reach the same state of authority she seems to have drawn in by. Her stance of wanting power seems to be what leads her character to villainy. Interestingly, as the character doesn't know who Cruella is yet. As you said, this Aquila is her alter ego established in the film, as she's known as Estella at this stage. Sweet lines for her mentor's confliction comes from the stem that she's good at the stuff she's built on herself, but it becomes a threat to her lines of authority, so she takes her own side. So this is the line I was talking about liking. So she says that she's good at stuff she built herself, but it threats the lines of authority she takes on her own side. Her side, even in the character, distinguish an alter ego in her way of dominance in the fashion design industry, seeing a split from her subdued nature to her persona on the way to become a good fashion designer. Her name really shines out there, and I feel this is really a good scene depiction. Owning a domination is a bit weird for the nature of the film compared to where the film would develop later in the cartoon series. Introduction and concept of moths is interesting, as this was done to sabotage one of the exhibition that her mentor was placing, and the moths coming out of the fashion industry would be something of like a black plague equivalence, for maybe medics and lines of saying moths do have this known rumor to eat clothing, and this is the faux pas for anybody that does a design. The biggest bird I've seen Cruella use something that would really hit hard on her obstacle in her life. Yeah, there's a very evil nature towards her actions of using quadruple feral animals as lab coats. She- so the ending of the film is a bit strange as it seems Cruella's so this is later on. The ending of the film is a bit strange as it seems Cruella properly has caused everyone else to make trends towards relating to her hair color, and her mentor is seen as a stance of looking at for Estella, to which she figured out who is the avatars of in search of which I take understand of its popularity of her work hitting the media. The climax points where the changing of power stance occurs to avoid her character's original death, and her mentor is acting in a manner that she's expected from her, having insight and showing her dominance in her alter ego. Was the ending of the movie was her killing off her old personality and not planning to go back how she was once before. A turning point later, the sequence of the events of character will play in the sequel following it, putting less emphasis on her current power dynamics played in this film. Um, it seemed as well that some controversial was placed into undermining dogs' roles in this film, as dogs have also saved her life when she was in a danger and her house was placed on fire. And but her attitude towards this is she was asleep, so maybe she was not aware that the dog was helping her out, and instead it was the butler who took the role or the main stance to which her standpoint towards saving her when she was placed in a bad situation. Because it's controversial as his alter ego becomes her dominant side, it seems that she calls her after recently calling her a mother day, calling her biological mother an obstacle in lines of in lines of her own dominance of wanting to seek power. Okay. So the highlight of the film really shines her characterization. Her backstory never fleshed out from the original cartoon series. This is what's driving people to watch this film, and to try to understand if she's taking the stance what people consider an empathetic villain or not, which I've mentioned before being the source of means which I further carry the emotion that I felt from the film towards future direction of my life in lines of where I usually take stance of to highlight when watching or making a film review in relation to storytelling or form depictions that I like to project externally in my own brand. So her motives are in line of power, and in which I do agree was a good concept relating to Riddler's theme relating to seeking vengeance from the Batman. If I recommend anybody who's watching my channel as it developed, a good point source of like my inspiration driven from the fact that this things was externalized events, and the Batman potentially being something I look forward to seeing, and wanting to see the future from the current workplace together, hoping and supporting it in the way that I hope it achieves more success onwards, because that film was a great unwinding of stress for myself as well, as I had problems with my own traumas in life that at this point have settled down. I'm still have to work towards a goal that should be achievable and normal for my current circumstances, but there's no point of me thinking of the if at this point. I just need to keep moving forward, and I think anybody who's taking the journey and taking my side to understand why I went through was not fair, and the support I get from like keep still trying to push towards my own career path because I spent so much years reaching this. I cannot say more than thank you so much for supporting me, and I hope you have your feelings aligned with me in terms of cool factor of what has happened in terms of enjoyment, and who knows what the future will hold. I'm hoping there's going to be more success propagated, because I can already see in lines of why people take a direction of source of works done externally, a lot of it is really cool, and we all can take a stance of relating towards showing that regardless of how hard a life can throw a curveball at us, we are still going to take a stance of solidifying and improving us the next time again we are to see such things happen to us. Only a weakling stays down, but a fool, despite the idiosyncrasy of this, doesn't recognize that people want to put limits into him, but instead pushes themselves and break through the wall that he knows was what's possible to still make the accomplishments that most people would say are not accessible to him. Basically, he has a stance of saying, I can make my own journey. I'm trying to denote this in a manner that's more playful, if that makes sense, given this to my theme. Again, so Estelle, let's go back to the characterization of the film. Aside from because characterization was a big drive of what pushed people to keep an interest in this film, thinking of what exactly happened in this prequel that would have led to the actions of the current 101 Dalmatians, right? Estelle is showing great valor by wearing any. Okay, so yeah, so like I like to compliment the actress. Estelle is showing great valor by wearing any form of cardigan she creates and makes it a good and competitive towards even threatening the property of her current dominance in the fashion industry. With a choice of material given clear a girl that's been taught to survive harshness leading towards a display of skill and character. In lines of Emma Stone's playing up these characters recently, coming in lines that she's not afraid to wear a bad cardigan at the risk of the security of her own brand, because she's someone that's confident in herself and is able to push out unfavorable roles just to be able to make a point across. And I gotta say, that's really cool. That's a really tough girl you got there, Emma Stones. So I like to lastly comments a few Easter eggs that comes in lines of this, right? In my perspective, the Chihuahua was quite funny. It was wearing an eye patch, and I was just like, that dog is quite angry. Holy shoot! I don't want to mess with that. And a fashion villainess makes sense to say it was a false king of America. Their shackles are now my weapons. How's that for irony? Putting up some nice feelings that I thought were funny. Yeah, I mean, that's generally here. I kind of touched most point that I try to kind of give a stand for this film. I hope you don't mind. So I've already kind of taken a stance of like giving us a crude score, because like my score system that's polished came after the review that I've done on this film. But I thought I fleshed out some really nice points. But I will tell you that this film, in my correspondence, I gave it a 58.33%, roughly around a C. And the things that I kind of like, it's a C level in comparison to the other two movie. Not so much because it's a bad film, but the dynamics of what I felt was other themes in relation. So it lost more points in strong, heavy Easter egg reference from my takes, and generally the implication of character development had some controversy, because I couldn't decide where her hatred of dogs came from. Are they her tools? Did she see them as resources, or does she see them as something that aligns with her side or not? Does that make sense? Because I could really pick that up and I made it into, and I understand this is a prequel to the ongoing series. There's a disconnection to understanding why Cruella doesn't see dogs as something that's living and humane in a sense, right? So that's why I kick in lines of the characterization being a bit less points than before. So it's a C for me. And the movie is okay in itself, putting away the backlash of like whether it connects well to the initial story to the cartoon movie. And Disney has done this already in other forms of films, like just Maleficent, which I haven't watched yet, but know of that they try to characterize a villainous character in a more empathetic tone. But if it's canon to the cartoon series, well, that's extra bonus marks for me, because it makes the package that might feel that much better. Right, so that's it. Thank you so much for listening. I hope you enjoyed this movie review of Cruella. I have now going to redirect the film one more expectation of movie direction in lines of preparation of the tarot card. I hope you are looking forward to how I change the style of like what I'm planning to do, as this movie is currently out in theaters, and I and it's still widely available. Take a stance of whether you agree with me or not. And thank you again. Leave a comment and interact with my content. The more you interact with it, the more I get an idea of like where I want to pull also possible. Uh, I'm in a situation where I'm still kind of hustling, but like I love that people are interacting and feeling the enjoyment of connectivity for this manner of effort in comparison to how I was interpreting things in my corresponding, which I don't feel is very cool at all. And I think you want to be cool in life, don't you? So, anyways, thank you so much. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope you have a good week coming by. Bye.
Hey everyone, thank you for putting the effort to watch the effort I placed on making something of an entertaining video. I hope you enjoyed it. As I said before, it's not forced, but like I really would appreciate any contribution and support you give to this channel, as it gives me more motivation and more incentive to enjoy more video creating and content creation. Uh, if you find that the content drifts away at any point, you can always unsubscribe. It's no big deal. Again, it doesn't mean much. It doesn't take much from you, but it means a whole bunch of me. And it would feel great if you would just reward my efforts of trying to be positive and contributionary. Thank you so much. Bye.